Good evening, I'm Keith Maile. We're here at the Linikona Center, and we took home first prize for sculpture, and it's called Ekolu Kanaka. Thank you very much.
I sat down with Keith Maile at Hawaii's Wood Show 2012.
Hi, I'm Keith Maile. I'm from the island of Oahu. I was born and raised in the Kapahulu area. Went to Kailua High School. Graduated 1974 from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. My study at University of Hawaii at Manoa was in sociology. However, by the time I graduated, I knew that's not exactly what I wanted to do. The curriculum, however, did prepare me for life. My cultural background is I'm Chinese, Hawaiian, German, English, and then some others. It's interesting, my mom's Chinese. She loves to weave and do other things, so she has done things and make feather lace. Back in the time, I wasn't really interested in Hawaiian culture. I didn't even like Hawaiian music, sad to say, until Sunday Manoa came out. However, my dad's an artist and had painted acrylic, oils, and such. Once out of the university, I had a multitude of jobs, spending more time in the hospitality arena with a hotel, transportation, and such. I think it was a pretty good education. When I was 8 or 9, I did like to whittle. I carved a few things, but I really didn't think about becoming involved in art. I was more involved in sports, and that was really my forte at the time. Yeah, some of my mentors are Solomon Apio, first and foremost, Marcus Marzan. He's known for his fiber work, weaving textiles, and some of the bowl turners like Ed Potter, weapon making, Kunani Wooten, Kaha Toledo. I belong to Pakuialua, and I do make a fair amount of weapons. The thing is, it's all about the culture, and that's what really rings my bell. I enjoy making Nameha Hawaii, and fortunately I've had a nice following when it comes to marketing my artwork as such. I work with bone, wood, stone, fiber. Those are pretty much the types of pieces that I do. I really like wood probably the most because it's a live type of thing. I like stone, I like bone, but probably I make more wood things than anything else. You know, if our kupuna were alive in a time that modern tools were available, they would definitely use it, and it's not a cop-out. I mean, obviously when the whalers came, they quickly adapted to metal and were willing to risk life and limb in order to get it. They would be carving, they would be inlay, weaving, and fashioning older type of materials to make a contemporary spin on some ancient pieces. These two pieces were originally turned and then partially cored out, and then eventually the figures were carved, and so it did cut a lot of time down in the process, because if I was to just hand carve it, it would have taken me months upon months, whereas it took a couple months for each piece. This is a puniu with a stand. Traditionally, it was used prior to the hula dancers actually strapping the drum on and above the knee, which they do today. The stand was documented in several paintings and drawings from ancient times, so we know this was a forerunner. The drum was literally put in as a platform and played. This is a piece of koa, and it was actually one log. It was actually carved into a cylinder, and then the inside was cored out on a lathe. After that, everything else was hand carved, and it's not easy being koa. It's heat sensitive. Many times as you go over a part of it, it gets darker. You have to rework it to get it back to a more natural color, and I could probably say that this was done at least 2 to 3 times. I have used hand chisels, Dremel tools, whatever does the job I'm going to grab and use in my shop. And I don't have a lot of the latest arbor tools and some of those that were available. I just used what I had. There is inspiration for this. It's in the Bishop Museum. The original artist that did the piece actually had 7 figures and 7 heads in between the arms. So they were a little bit more ambitious than I was, and I really wanted to have the body be a little bit more massive than Manini and skinny. That's kind of something that I like to portray. I like to emphasize the buttocks, the calves, and the thighs. Those are some of my important points of the carving that I do. This particular piece would have been ivory. However, I decided to be a little bit more sensitive, knowing that it was going to be coming here, and I used bone. It's actually from the rear shank of the cow bone. This is a piece of Maile. It started off also as a log. It's one piece. Everything is carved. The bowl is not attached to the legs after it was done. It's all one piece. It was carved into it was actually turned on a lathe in a cylinder form, and later it was all hand carved, and the bowl actually was finished on a lathe. Other than that, everything is pretty much hand carved. And this is probably the most difficult piece that I've done as far as a ki'i or a human form in a sculpture. And I've made probably 7 or 8 of them in various styles, support figures. By the way, there is a different face on every one of the ki'is or human figures, unlike the piece. You know, my thing is never to copy what our kupuna have done. What I want to do is take it as inspiration and then put my own spin on it. I would never insult my kupuna by trying to make it exactly the way it was. The organization that I belong to is the Maile organization, which develops artists and try to teach them how to sustain their craft so that they can do it as a living. I haven't quit my day job, so I'm still working in my own business. There's a couple other projects that I'm working on currently. One is a ava scoop, which is a long bowl. I don't have it with me, and then it has a ki'i or a support figure on the very end, and it's used for an ava ceremony. So that's a piece that I'm working on. Also, there's another piece. It's actually a serving bowl that has a ki'i on the front and a ki'i on the back. So that should be fun to finish up. They're both going to be Maile. Maile is great. You know, it's fine grained, it's hard enough, and it really polishes up quite nicely. My favorite particular wood, however, is Kou, K-O-U, and it is the bomb. It really is, because it's fine grained, yet it's soft enough to work and cut, and it doesn't move either. As a bowl turner, you couldn't ask for more, and that's why it's so dear. It's so hard to find. If you're lucky, you can buy it, because at the turn of the century, there was a caterpillar, I forget the name of it, it's got this long scientific name. It ate all the kou in the islands, and the thing that compounded that, at the time, the monarchy really was into fine china, ceramics, so they were firing all of the bowl makers and wooden implement makers, and it was a sad day. It was very sad. And then around the 1900s, when the monarchy was still barely alive, they wanted bowls again, and guess what? They had fired all the bowl makers, and they were not able to make bowls at that time in the traditional way, and really it was lost because of that. Because at one time, that's all they made were bowls for the ali'i.
I noticed that your pieces all seem to have names. Is it important to name a piece?
You know, traditionally, if you named it, it was yours. Your mana is in it, and you didn't give it away. Traditionally, because somebody could use it for ill will on you, and particular too if you named it. I'm a Christian. I don't really impart any spiritualness on any of the pieces that I carve. There are times, however, that I feel like I'm being led in a certain way to carve a piece, and that's a little tricky. But you know, the credit goes to God for that. You know, this last year I didn't name any of the pieces really. They had a title, but I thought this year I would put a name on it, and it was 3 men, 5 men. It's that simple. The necklace I'm wearing, I'm being a little coy about it. This is actually called the le'opu'u, and Oahu chiefs were the only ones allowed to wear it. Prior to King Kamehameha's uniting of all the islands, this is what Oahu wore. Once Kamehameha united all the islands, it was kapu. For many people to even have, and they use the leiniho palawa, which looks like a tongue. People say it looks like a hook. It really is a tongue, and it is the authority for a chief to speak. So only the very high chiefs wore the leiniho palawa. Well, since we're here at the wood show, I'm humbled. I'm very humbled to know that this particular piece won first place. The way I feel is every piece is a winner, and it's by, you know, arbitrary choice of the judges, and I feel very special to be picked and yet humbled. This is my second year here, and it's quite a treat and an honor to have the first place sculpture award.
I want to thank Keith for sitting down with me and sharing a piece of himself and his Hawaiian artistry with us.